Where in the world am I and what's going on? Well, today we're going to talk about remote refurbishment, getting the work done on your property when you're not here. Welcome to Casa Stefano. This is my story of buying a house in Italy, sight unseen, during the pandemic, and the adventure of renovating the house and exploring the Salento in southern Puglia. In the last episode of Bathroom Demolition, we discovered the truth about where the sewer lines were running. It means I'm going to need to get some professionals to come in to dig up the floor and install new plumbing. It's more than I can handle, and it needs to be done when I'm not here. So in this episode, I visit a project with Salento With Love and discuss remote refurbishment with Davide Mengoli. So tell me about your relationship with Cubico, how that came about, and how important it is in the remote refurbishment process.
Well, Cubico, Architettura degli Interni, it's a company that locally, but not just here, all over Italy, is very well known for interior and designing some extraordinary furniture. Enrico Surdo, which is the founder of Cubico, has more than 40 years of experience in the field. He is also the winner of the Compasso d'Oro, which is the greatest kind of award that gets given to designers in Italy. So a lot of people don't know that. So when I moved over here about 2.5 years ago, I started to have conversations with people. I come back from an art background, from the art world background. So I was naturally attracted to somebody that did beautiful things when it came to design. This conversation was taken forward, and over the last few years, as my business has developed here on the territory, and I worked very, very close with them, Antonio, working for his uncle, became a very important figure for me because he's been very supportive of what I've been doing. I mean, my work is based on connections, it's based on network, it's based on passion. That's why I decided to call this Passion and Love. So I came across somebody who had similar passion to what I do. Now, does Cubico does refurbishment? I would say yes and no. They're not really a refurbishment company, but they've been in the world of interiors. They've done incredible properties around Puglia. They've done bars, restaurants. They're now doing a huge hotel in Gallipoli. So they have all these connections. So together with them, we puzzled a team of people, well, they have, which is part of their entourage of people that they've used for many, many years, including Carlo that we've said today that is doing the doors. And so we've come together to deliver something that it's a little bit above what people normally expect from a refurb. So that's how it came about. It came about, I would say, organically.
So suffice it to say that they're sensitive to the architecture and the sort of natural building techniques and things like that of the area.
Yes. I think the introduction of elements that they bring in, they're very recognizable in their design. If you travel around Salento, you may find an hotel or a house that's been designed by them, and it comes across that delicacy and also the connection. Sometimes the prickly pears that come through, perhaps some of the design that they do on the furniture or the ceramics are very, very obvious, but at the same time they are done in a very modern key. So bringing that contemporary feel. So it's not that heavy, traditional kind of concept. It's a very contemporary approach, but with that connection to the territory.
Very nice. So, from a customer standpoint, talk about the process. So you mentioned the design firm Cubico, and we see on the wall here that you've got a plan for the property. And so what's the process that the customer can expect once you've got the design?
So once you got the design is very important, because without the design it's impossible to actually get exact quotations on the work that needs to be carried out. So somebody's squeezing past this little centro storico when you get the car, so that's the noise from my car coming through. But yes, having the design is very important. I realized when last year that without having an accurate design, it was impossible to get contractors to give us quotations and prices that obviously our clients needed. So we go through the process of, first of all, is what I call the distribution of the space. What's going to happen with the space, and it's important to do that. Now, bearing in mind in Italy that part of that process is also connected to a very bureaucratic process. So you can't just shift the user of the space without letting know the planning officer or the town planning. So if this space here was a bathroom and now you decide to turn it into a kitchen, you need to state it on your floor plan. What that means is that you need to present what is called in Italy a SCIA, okay? S-C-I-A. So just to do that, the architect will have to draw all the plans of the different distribution of the space. You're probably taking a little wall down, opening this space up, or you're probably connecting these two rooms together. So it's very important to go through all of that process first, and then after that getting prices from the different elements. So the building work, the demolition part of it, the removal of everything that gets demolished. Then after that, anything from your plumbing, which is your number one thing, everything happens behind the walls and under the floor. Your electrician, and then you start with your plastering, and then your second fixing of plumbing, electrics. So all of these stages need to be handled before. That's why the design is important. It's not the sort of thing that you wake up in the morning and you say, okay, I want to change this thing and I want to do, because you would drive everybody mad. So it's very important to have your heart set on what you would like to do with your property and then just tackle it all at once. Also, this gives you the benefit at this particular moment to have access to some of the Italian grants. Everybody talks about those grants, but if you break down the project, having access to companies that can offer you the grant is almost impossible. But if you bring it all together as a project, then it's quite, not easy, but it's very much possible to have a company like Cubico who works almost like a big subcontractor that contracts everybody, takes that cost from the banks, because that's how it happens, to give you then the benefit of the 50% discount on the grants. So I don't know if I've actually probably talked too much, but that's me.
No, that's fantastic. So once you've laid out the design, do you discuss that with the customer? Do they how detailed do you get with not just the design but the materials and the layout? Or do you solicit that from the customer up front?
Yes, I mean this is your house. It's not my house. It's not Cubico's house. Cubico is just one of the companies that we use. This is your house. It's very important for me or for the designer or anyone involved to hear exactly what you would like to achieve as a final result. I get clients sending me pictures from Pinterest, Instagram. Oh, we will like this kind of mood, we will like this kind of style. And obviously with that in mind, then whoever the designer that is working on the renders could put that in place before we get to choosing the materials. So talk about some challenges that you might encounter. So far, has anything come up with this property, or do you have, what kinds of things happen? Because these are old houses, and as I'm finding in my house, there's some challenges. Well, for example, in this particular one, the challenge when we started is that potentially there is some infiltration of water from a property next door, which has been inhabited for maybe 40, 50, 60 years. So at the moment we're trying to track down how we can get inside the property and see what the issue is. And when we do find that issue, which is probably going to be, probably I'm going to talk about that in the series that I'm putting together, which is called Passion and Love, about this particular refurb. We'll probably have to pay to fix it, because you can imagine the property next door that no one has looked after it for 40, 50 years. So be prepared when you're doing a renovation or a restoration, probably rather than a renovation of an ancient property, and you are in an old town centre, to do work perhaps that go beyond the limit of your property. It's not always the case, but if that is the case, it's good to keep that in mind. So that could be a little challenge sometimes to communicate to some of the clients.
I think lots of people that have looked at properties in Italy, especially €1 homes, and anything that's in a historic center or in a place where there's abandoned properties, there's sort of a caution that the integrity of your house is only as good as the property it's leaning against next door, and all these properties are adjacent to each other. They're resting on each other. So that's an interesting point. So talk about I think foreign buyers are obviously they're curious about the timelines and barring unforeseen circumstances, sort of how long processes take. It's a common question.
Yeah, and the question is an open question. It's so different. I mean, I think one of the major things at the moment is that everybody's trying to have access to grants, and it's not an easy process, and if you do, it's great, and sometimes that discount is not really a real reflected discount. So a lot of the delays are due to trying to navigate the system to have access to those grants. And also, I'm trying to answer the question in a kind of convoluted way. The reality is that there is a huge amount of work at the moment going on in the industry, in this particular industry, due to the grants. I mean, you walk down through any little village, towns, all over Italy, and you see scaffolds up everywhere. And so you can imagine the thousands of companies and people that are involved. So when you go and try to find someone, the waiting time is actually been stretched. So to answer to your question, in a property like this, if we complete it today, it would take probably about 3 to 6 months to go through the design process, the choosing of the material, the quotations from all the different contractors, putting the planning application through, and then starting the process. So around about 6 months to probably start the work, and probably anything between 3 to 4 months to complete the work.
Yeah, so one thing that is that people don't think too much about is what happens when you start tearing things out. And I've seen this in my property where I've started to tear down the bathrooms. This is a huge pile and takes a lot of work to remove. I have a smaller bucket than that's full of tile and plaster, and it weighs a ton. So we've got another property to look at, so we're going to continue talking about remote refurbishment. And as I said in another video, I've got some challenges in my house, so I'm going to have some work done on my house that I can't possibly do myself while I'm here in the short time trying to live in the property. More to come in future videos on what's going to happen at Casa Stefano. Thanks for watching.
Well, don't be scared, my friend used to say. Be very scared. Well, just a little bit of rubble and digging going on. There's been some serious smashing